Why, hello. Welcome to the show. I am Big Joe, your storyteller. Welcome to the Big Joe Storytelling Show. Hi there. I'm going to tell you some stories today. Our very first story is a story from Africa, a story called The Fire and the Frog. And I'll tell it to you. And in this story, there is a really, really cool prop that I have. It's a stick. This is a stick I found in the desert out in Nevada when I went there. It's a really cool stick. It's nice and smooth on one side and kind of all knotted on the other side. It's pretty neat. And I'm going to tell you actually two stories with this one same stick. Our very first story, as I said, is a story called The Fire and the Frog, a story from Africa. A long time ago, things were very different than they are today. A long time ago, people and animals could talk to each other the way that we talk to each other now. Everybody shared a common language, and everybody understood each other. And all the people and all the animals lived in the middle of the world in a great big fortress. And the fortress was very big and very strong with very big doors and very big walls, and it protected everyone. And that was good, because out in the world back then, there were monsters, things that swam in the ocean, things that lived in deep, dark caves, things that hunted in the dark forest. Now, as long as they were inside that fortress, they were protected and safe, because the fortress was built very, very big and strong. And they had everything you could imagine. But there was one thing they didn't have, and that was fire. Because you see, years before, fire was stolen by an evil orc. Now, an orc is a creature with dark green skin, big long horns, big sharp claws, and big ugly spiky teeth. And the orc had stolen all the fire in the world and put it in his cave and wouldn't let anybody go near it. Now, without fire, there was a lot of things they couldn't do. Without fire, they couldn't keep themselves warm when it got really cold at night. Without fire, they couldn't light their way when it got very dark. And without fire, they couldn't cook good food to eat. Well, they were all very upset and they didn't know what to do. Well, one day they had a meeting and Human stood up and he said, "My friends, this has gone on long enough. We've been without fire for too long and we are going to get fire back. And here's my plan. I'm going to take this stick right here and I'm going to sneak into that orc's cave and I'm going to get fire back. And I'm going to take it all the way here. And when I get back here, we're going to have fire again." He said, "But it's going to be a long way from that orc's cave, so I'm going to need some help." So he looked around the room. He said, "Lion, you could help. If I can't get it back, Lion, you could get it all the way back." I said, "Well, even Lion might not be able to do it." So he said, "Cheetah, you could do it. If Lion can't do it, Cheetah, you could get it all the way back." So, well, even Cheetah might need some help. So he looked down and he said, "Horse, you can help. If Cheetah can't do it, Horse, you could get it all the way back." Well, even Horse might need some help. So he looked down. He said, "Fox, Fox, if Horse can't do it, Fox, you could help. You could get it all the way back." And they were planning and scheming and getting everything together when all of a sudden, from the side of the council ring, they heard a sound. "What about me? What about me? What about me?" Looked around. They said, "Who said that?" I said, "Down here." Looked down and there was a frog. Frog said, "I want to help. Everybody else help and I want to help too. I want to help too." And everybody started to laugh. They said, You can't help anybody. Look at you. You're little and green and slimy. You're like a booger. Hey, you're a booger. Stop it. You're a booger. Stop it. Booger. Stop it. Booger. Stop saying booger. Okay. And he said, "Come on, I want to help. Everybody help. I help and I want to help too. I want to help too." And they said, "All right, fine, fine, fine." Human said, "You know what? We'll let you help. We'll put you way down, away near the fortress, out of everybody's way, and you could help." All right. I'm going to help. I'm going to help. Well, the next day came and they put their plan together. Human was outside the orc's cave with his stick, ready for action. A few miles down the road, there was Lion. A few more miles down the road, there was Cheetah. Way down the road, there was Horse. Way, way, way down the road, there was Fox. And way, way down the road, right near the fortress wall, there was Frog. All right, I'm going to help. Yeah. Well, Human had a plan. He was going to sneak into that orc's cave. He was going to get deep inside. And when he did, he was going to get fire back. So he crept into the cave. He went into the cave, and the deeper he got, the hotter it became, because he was getting closer and closer to the fire. And finally, when he got there, he hid behind some rocks and looked over. And there was Orc. And he was sitting there looking at fire like it was cable TV. Now, Human had a plan. He was going to take a rock and throw it against the side of the cave wall. And when the Orc turned his head to see what it was, he was going to take his torch, stick it in the fire, and they were going to get fire back. So Human took a really big rock, threw it against the cave wall, hit the wall, bam! And the Orc turned his head to see what it was. And Human took his torch and stuck it in the fire, and got fire at the end of his stick. And he was just about to head out of the cave, but the Orc did the worst possible thing. He turned his head. When he turned his head, he saw Human, and he snarled and he said, "Nobody takes my fire." and started to come after Human. Now, Human was already on his legs, and he was running out of that cave really fast. He was flying down that road really fast. And this was before the days of donuts and couches and TV, so people were in really good shape. And that Human was running really fast down the road. He was just flying down that road really fast. And all of a sudden, the ground beneath him started to shake as the orc came out of his cave. And the orc was mad. He was snarling and growling. And he was running after Human. Human was giving it all he had. He was running as fast as he could. That orc kept coming. Now, it wasn't really a fair fight, you see, because for every 5 steps that Human took equaled only 1 step that the orc took. And it wasn't long before the orc was right behind him. And Human was running as fast as he could with that orc chasing after him. And they ran for miles and miles like that. Well, after a while, Human started to get kind of tired. His heart was pounding in his chest. He was sweating. He was having trouble breathing. But there on the side of the road, there was Lion. And Lion sat there. And Lion said, "Come on, give it to me right here. Give it a Lion. Come on, we can do this. Hurry up. Come on, give it a Lion. Come on." And he passed down Lion. He said, "Here, Lion, take it. Go." And Lion took the torch in his great big steel jaws and started to run down the road. Vroom, 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 vroom. Now, lions have great big paws and great big muscles. And he was able to go fast down that road. He was tore down that road really fast, just going down that road really, really fast. The orc was coming in behind him, and the orc was mad. He was coming after Lion, and he got really close, and orc took his great big claw and swung it down at Lion. Missed him by about this much, and the hair on Lion's back stood up. But Lion put his head down and started to run. He kept on running really fast down that road. But after a while, his paws started to hurt. His muscles started to ache. He was having trouble breathing and trouble seeing. But that orc kept coming. But there on the side of the road, there was Cheetah. And Cheetah sat there, and Cheetah said, "Come on, give it to the cheetah, come on. We cheetahs be very fast. Give it to the cheetah, come on." And he passed down to Cheetah. He said, "Here, Cheetah, take it, go." And Cheetah said, "Ciao, Bella." And he took that torch and head down the road really fast. Now, you guys know about cheetahs, and you know that cheetahs can run really fast. They're one of the fastest animals on land. And you know what? This cheetah was no exception. He was really, really fast. He ran fast down the road. He was so fast, he was a moving blur. He was so fast, his paws barely even touched the ground. He was so fast, the flame at the end of the stick almost flickered out. But it was a good burning wood, and it kept burning. He kept running, and he ran down that road as fast as he could, going really fast. And after a while, Cheetah wanted to look back and see how far back that orc was. He turned his head to see, and when he did, to his horror, there was the orc right behind him. He couldn't believe his eyes. And he put his head down and started to run. He was giving it all he had going down that road. Now, cheetahs can run fast, but they can't run fast forever. And it wasn't long before Cheetah was getting really tired. He was having trouble breathing. He was sweating really a lot, and his muscles were starting to hurt. But there on the side of the road, a little ways down, there was Horse. And Horse stood there majestically, and he said, "Yes, give it a horse right here. Horse, that spells horse. It really does." He said, "Give it to me and we'll win the day." He flipped up to Horse. He said, "Here, Horse, take it, go." And Horse took it and galloped down the road. Vroom, 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 vroom. Now, this was no ordinary horse, my dear friends. This was no farm horse. This is no regular horse. This is no merry-go-round horse. This was a wild horse. And wild horses move like the wind. And he tore down the road really fast, thundering down with his hooves, going down really fast. And he was running so fast, he could see the fortress wall coming into view. If they made it, they were going to be safe. And he was running down as fast as he could. But that orc was coming, and the orc was mad. He decided to put a stop to things, and so he reached out as he ran and grabbed a branch of a tree and took it and swung it down at Horse. And when he did, the tree exploded into a million pieces. It missed Horse, but some of the pieces went right into Horse's back. Horse was in pain, but he had to keep going. He thundered down that road, and the fortress wall was getting closer and closer. But that orc kept coming. And Horse was getting tired. Steam was coming out of his nostrils. Sweat was pouring down his mane. He was getting so tired. But there on the side of the road, a little ways down, there was Fox. And Fox said, "Come on, give me the fox right here. Come on, hurry up. We can do this. Come on, hurry up." And he passed down to Fox. He said, "Please, Fox, take it. You're our last hope." And Fox took it in his mouth and started to run. Now, unlike a cheetah or a horse or a lion, a fox is pretty small. And because he was small, he decided to lose that orc. So he jumped off the road for a little bit to lose him. And he went in between bushes. He went around trees. He went over rocks to try to lose that orc. For a couple seconds, the orc was lost. He couldn't see where he was. But then he saw the flicker of flame, and he knew exactly where that fox was. And he came tearing after him. He ripped through bushes. Bam! He knocked down trees. Boom! He went over rocks. Boom! And came after Fox. And Fox jumped back on the road and started to run. He was running really fast. And there was the fortress wall. It was so close. It was getting closer and closer and closer. And Fox was going to make it. He kept looking straight ahead at that fortress wall because he wanted to make it. But because he was looking straight ahead, he wasn't looking down. And there, right in the middle of the road, was a rock. And as he ran over that rock, and he broke his paw. Ow! And he came up limping on 3 paws, and he was trying to run down that road on 3 paws, but he was really slowed down. And the orc saw that and he smiled because he knew this was over. Fox was giving it all he had. He was trying to drag himself down the road, trying to get there, but he wasn't going to make it. This was going to be over, and it was going to be over very soon. Well, all of a sudden, as he was dragging himself down the road, he heard a voice, and it was Frog. And Frog said, "Hey, give it to me! Give it to me! Give it to me!" And Fox shook his head, "No!" But then he looked over his shoulder and he saw that orc coming. He knew he had no choice. So he passed it over to Frog. He said, "Please, Frog, take it. You're our last hope." And Frog said, "All right, I'll help. I'll help." Dude, what? Don't talk with your mouth full. It's disgusting. What? It's disgusting. Just get on with the story. Gotcha. And he started hop, pling, 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 pling. Now, there are some frogs in parts of the world, like in Brazil, that can go very high and very far, and this was one of those frogs. He could hop very high and very far, but no matter how high or how far he could go, wasn't going to be enough to get rid of the orc. And the orc knew it, too. The orc just smiled a big smile because he knew this was over. He was just going to reach right down, grab that frog, and squeeze him till he went squish. The Frog was giving it all he had. He was trying to hop down that road as fast as he could. He was trying to get there, trying to get to the wall, but all of a sudden it got very dark because Orc's hand came down around him, and he took him and he started to squeeze him. But when he did, something amazing happened. Now, from all those years of living in the swamp, Frog was very slick and wet. And just like if you get a bar of soap and you get it really wet and you try to squeeze a bar of soap, it's going to squirt right out of your hands. And just like that bar of soap from all those years of being all wet and slimy in the swamp, when he went to squeeze him, just like that bar of soap, he squirted out of his hands, went through the air, and landed on the other side of the fortress wall. Whoa! That really hurt. Well, the orc banged on the wall, but he couldn't get through. And after a while, Orc went home angry, upset, and defeated. When everybody gathered back around, they couldn't believe it. Frog had saved the day. And they all apologized to him for treating him so badly. And from that day on, Frog became a hero because the smallest one of all did the biggest job and saved fire. Yep. And that is the end. Now, one story with a stick. Now, our second story with the stick. And this story is also from Africa. This story is about Anansi the spider. Now, Anansi, in African folktales, is a trickster. Yep. He's very sneaky, very tricky, and very greedy. And this story has this stick from our first story, because this story is called Anansi and the Rain Cloud. Now, once upon a time, a long time ago, Anansi the spider had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. Stop it. What? It's not funny. It's funny. It's not funny. So, as I was saying, Anansi the spider had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. Stop it. What? It's not funny. Okay, it wasn't funny last time. It's not funny this time. It's funny. It's not funny. It's funny. Whatever. So, Anansi the spider had a farm. No. Next to Anansi's farm, there was Rabbit's farm. Across the road over there was Turtle's farm. Now, every year, all three farmers worked very hard on their farms to grow the best fruits and vegetables so they could sell them in the market and make lots and lots of money. Well, one year, a drought came. And when the drought came, the sun beat down on the ground, and there was no rain for weeks and weeks and weeks. It got hotter and hotter and hotter. It got so hot that all the plants drooped. All the crops wilted, and the ground got as hard as a rock. No matter what they tried, no matter what they did, they dug and they tried to plant, but no matter what they did, nothing was working. And no one knew what to do. Well, one day Rabbit was sitting under a bush trying to get some shade when down flew the kuma bird. Now, the kuma bird is a bird with big wings and big red feathers. And he looked down at Rabbit. He said, Rabbit, what's the matter? You look so sad. Why are you so sad? Rabbit said, why am I sad? He said, look at my farm. All we've had is sun, and more sun. No rain at all. Well, Cornbread said, well, Rabbit, I have something to tell you. If you go to the hill on the other side of the jungle, you will find Rain Cloud. And if you bang on Rain Cloud's belly like a drum, the thunder in his belly will rumble, and he will bring rain to your farm. Rabbit said, oh, do you think it'll work? He said, yes, I know it will. He said, thank you very much. And so the next day, Rabbit went home and got 2 sticks. And he headed up the hill to go see Rain Cloud. Boinga, 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 boinga. When he got to the top of the hill, there was Rain Cloud, big and gray and puffy, sitting right there at the top. And Rabbit said, excuse me, Rain Cloud, but I heard from the coon bird that if I bang on your belly like a drum, that the thunder in your belly will rumble and you'll bring rain to my farm. So could I bang on your belly, please? And Rain Cloud said, certainly, Rabbit. Bang on my belly and I'll bring rain to your farm. But please don't bang too much. Just bang a little bit. He said, no problem. He took the sticks and started banging on Rain Cloud's belly. Boom, ba boom, 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 boom, ba boom. He did that. The thunder Rain Cloud's belly started to rumble. Rumble, 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 rumble. And Rain Cloud started to shake. And he drifted on over to Rabbit's farm and started to rain. Pitter-patter, 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 pitter-patter. And the ground got wet. And the plants and the crops got something good to drink. And Rabbit stood up there and he smiled. Anansi was down on his farm, and Anansi was very mad. He said, hey, what's going on around here? How come it's raining on Rabbit's farm and not on my farm? What is going on? And he was very upset. Well, Rabbit came skipping down the road, heading back to his farm, and he was so happy, and he ran into Turtle. And Turtle said, hey, Rabbit, I got to ask you something. How come it was raining on your farm and not on my farm? He said, I'll tell you. I heard from the coon bird, if you go to the hill on the other side of the jungle, you'll find Rain Cloud. And if you bang on Rain Cloud's belly like a drum, the thunder in his belly rumble, and he'll bring rain to your farm. And Turtle said, hey, you think it'll work for me? He said, yeah, it worked for me. It'll work for you too. Go ahead. He said, thanks, Rabbit. You're a good friend. And so the next day, Turtle went home, got 2 sticks, and headed up the hill to go see Rain Cloud. Dum, da-dum, 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 da-dum. This might take a little while. Da-dum, da-dum. Well, he got to the top of the hill, and when he did, there was Rain Cloud, and Turtle said, excuse me, Rain Cloud, but I heard from Rabbit that if I bang on your belly like a drum, the thunder in your belly will rumble, and you'll bring rain to my farm. So I was wondering, could I please bang on your belly like a drum? And Rain Cloud said, certainly, Turtle. Bang on my belly, and I'll bring rain to your farm. But please don't bang too much, just bang a little bit. And he said, no problem. He took the sticks and started banging on Rain Cloud's belly. Boom, ba, 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 boom, ba. And when he did that, the thunder Rain Cloud's belly started to rumble. Rumble, 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 rumble. And Rain Cloud started to shake. And he drifted on over to Turtle's farm and started to rain. Pitter-patter, 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 pitter-patter. And the ground got wet. And the plants and the crops got something good to drink. And Turtle stood up there and he smiled. Anansi was down on his farm, and man, Anansi was mad. He said, hey, what's going on? Now it's raining on Turtle's farm? This is ridiculous. What is going on? And he was very angry. He was pacing back and forth, really, really angry. And after a while, he heard something. He went to look and see what it was. He looked over his fence, and there was Turtle and Rabbit, and they were singing and dancing and giving each other high fives. Woohoo! And Anansi came over. He said, hey, you two, what's going on around here? Slowpoke, Big Ears. How come it's raining on your farms and not on my farm? And Turtle looked at Rabbit. He said, hey, you think we should tell him? And Rabbit said, I don't think we should tell him because Anansi's always getting in trouble. And if we tell him, he's going to get in trouble. He said, nah, he'll be all right. He said, hey, Anansi, if you go to the hill on the other side of the jungle, you'll find Rain Cloud. And if you bang on Rain Cloud's belly like a drum, the thunder in his belly will rumble, and he'll bring rain to your farm. But you can't bang too much. You just have to bang a little bit. He said, well, thank you for telling me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Anansi went home. Now, as I've told you, Anansi is very sneaky and very greedy. And when he got home, he was thinking to himself, he said, hey, you know what? Those 2 goofballs are doing it all wrong. All they're doing is banging on Rain Cloud's belly a little bit. And all they're getting is a little bit of rain. If I bang on Rain Cloud's belly a whole lot, I'll get a whole lot of rain. And I'll have the best farm in the whole wide world. And so Anansi went out the next day from his home, and he got a stick. But he didn't get a little tiny stick. He got a big, heavy club. It was so big he could barely even carry it himself. And he headed up the hill to go see Rain Cloud. When he got to the top, there was Rain Cloud. And Rain Cloud was sitting there, and Anansi went up. But he didn't ask permission to bang on Rain Cloud's belly. He didn't talk to him politely. He just took that great big stick and started to bang on Rain Cloud's belly really loud. Bam, 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 bam. He banged and he banged and he banged really hard. And when he did that, Thunder Rain Cloud's belly started to rumble. Rumble, 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 rumble. And Rain Cloud started to shake. And it went over to Anansi's farm, but it didn't go pitter-patter, pitter-patter. It poured. The rain came down harder and faster and faster and harder. It kept on coming down and coming down and coming down and coming down. And Anansi stood up there and he smiled. But then he smiled a little less. Then a little less. Then a little less. And soon he was frowning because he realized the rain wasn't stopping. It kept on coming down faster and faster and harder and harder. It kept on coming down and coming down and coming down. It came down so much the ground got covered in water. And the water got a little bit higher. Then a little bit higher, then a little bit higher. And soon the plants went underwater, and the crops went underwater. Then Anansi's tractor went underwater. Then Anansi's house went underwater. And soon right there where Anansi's farm was a great big lake of water. And Anansi smacked himself in the head and said, oh, why didn't I listen to Rabbit and Turtle? Oh, why? Well, Anansi's whole entire farm was underwater, so he had to go find a new place to start a new farm. Well, from that day to this day, if you go to that part of Africa, you'll see a great big lake of water surrounded by farmland. And no one knows how that lake got there, but now you all know it's all because of that greedy little spider named Anansi. And that is the end. Now, I have one more story for you on this fine and wonderful day, and it is a story of the magic fish. Now, there are magic fish stories all over the world. Yep. Every culture has their own version of a magic fish story. It's always sort of a careful what you wish for kind of a thing, because sometimes what people think they want isn't what they really want. Now, some versions of the story are very happy. Some are sad. Some are silly. Some are a little bit serious. Well, what I did is took a little piece of all different ones and put them in together for this story. The story of the magic fish. Once upon a time, there was an old man and an old woman, and they lived in a little house. And they were not very well off. They were poor. And because of that, the house that they lived in was plain and simple. It was cold during the winter. It was hot during the summer. Whew. And because they were poor, they didn't have much in the way of things. They didn't have nice clothes to wear. They didn't have good things like computers or phones or things like that. And because they were so poor, they had to eat the same thing every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They had mush. Now, mush is like oatmeal, only mushier. And for breakfast, they ate their mush. And for lunch, they ate the mush. And for dinner, well, they ate the mush. And because of the mush and the very poor conditions in which they lived, the old man and the old woman were pretty sad. And they dreamed of great fortune, and they dreamed of having wonderful things, but they were pretty poor, and they didn't have much of anything at all. Now, the old man, he was a fisherman. And every day he would go out and try to catch fish. And if he had a pretty good day and he caught some fish, instead of having mush for dinner that night, they would have fish. So one day he said goodbye to his wife and headed down to the shore and down to the lake to go fishing. And he went and he threw his line in the water. Zip. Ooh, I got a bite. Let me said I caught it. I caught a boot? Yeah, that's not a fish. Zip. Ooh. Let me said I caught a tire? No, that's not a fish either. Zip. Ooh. Let me see what I caught some underwear. Ew. Ah. Well, he was reeling in when all of a sudden he put his line in the water and he got a tug at his line. Ooh. And he reeled it in and reeled it in. There at the end of his line was a sparkling blue fish. He said, oh, this is great. I've got a fish. I'm going to have fish for dinner. We'll have fish casseroles, fish sandwiches, fish stew. Oh, it's going to be great. But all of a sudden, the fish did something he never thought a fish could do. The fish started to talk. The fish said, oh, please don't eat me. I said, oh, my stars, you're a talking fish. I said, I'm more than that, friend. I'm a magic fish. He said, what? Whoever heard of a magic fish? Jerry, you're a talking fish? No. All right, then. A magic fish. Magic fish. M-A-G, you know how to spell it. Magic fish. He said, if you let me go, kind sir, I will grant you 3 wishes. And he said, what? Fish don't give wishes. Only genies give wishes. He said, no, I can do it. He said, fine. So he put the fish back in the water. He said, all right, you know what? If you're a magic fish, me and my wife, we live in a little house. I wish we had a bigger house with all the fixings. And the fish wiggled his tail and he said, it shall be done. When you want your second wish, just call on me, magic fish. He jumped in the water, sploosh, and swam away. Now the old man, he thought he was going crazy. He'd all the sun out there had made him crazy. He said, magic fish, why there's no such thing as a magic fish. And he went over the hill to where his little house was. You know what he saw when he got there? Big house, a huge house, a mansion. A house with 2 floors and all kinds of doors and windows. There's a swimming pool out back and palm trees out front, and he couldn't believe his eyes. And he opened up the door, and it was even more amazing on the inside. There were chandeliers on the ceiling, rugs on the floor, paintings on the wall, and there was his wife, and his wife was smiling. She said, I don't know what happened. And they looked around, they saw all the things, and it was just wonderful. And they just enjoyed everything. They ate all the food out of the refrigerator. They danced the music on the stereo. And they rested on the big comfy beds. And they were very happy. And he told her about the magic fish and the 3 wishes, and they were very, very happy. And when they woke up the next morning, do you think they were still very happy? No, they weren't happy at all. They were sad again. And he said, why are we sad now? And they couldn't quite figure it out. And then they thought, that's right, the magic fish. We made 1 wish. We have 2 wishes left. We have to wish for something. She said, you know what? We need to wish for money. Lots of money. Tons of money. We want to be able to take a money bath. That's what we want to do. And he said, good idea, wife. That's what we'll wish for. Very good. And so he ran down to the lake. And when he got there, he yelled out, magic fish. Magic fish popped up. He said, yes, what can I do for you? He said, well, we know what our second wish is going to be. He said, all right, lay it on me. He said, well, we wish we had money. And the fish wiggled his tail, and he said, it shall be done. When you want your 3rd wish, just call on me. Magic fish! Stop it. Magic fish! Stop it. What? No singing. Why? We don't have talent to sing. You know, and talent to tell stories. That never stopped you. No singing. Magic fish! Get in the water. Well, he went back to his house. And when he got over the hill and saw his house, he saw something very, very strange. All the windows on the 1st floor were green. He said, that's weird. So maybe my wife got green curtains. Maybe she painted the windows green. I don't know. And he opened up the door to see. When he got there, saw that it wasn't green paint and it wasn't green curtains. It was green money. And the money was flowing down like a river. It came down the stairs. It came down from the ceiling. It came up from the floor. And there was his wife, and his wife was smiling. She was shaking money in her hands. She was throwing money up in the air, and she was taking a money bath. La, 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 la. If I ever hit the lottery, that's what I'm going to do every single day. I'm going to take a money bath. It doesn't get you clean, but it feels so good. Well, they were happy and throwing the money around, having a wonderful time, and they were very, very happy, yes. And when they woke up the next morning, do you think they were still very, very happy? No. They were sad again. And he said, why are we sad now? Well, you know why? There was 1 wish left. Problem was, they each wanted to wish for something different. His wife wanted to wish to be queen of the world. He wanted to wish to be able to fly. His wife wanted to wish maybe for 1 million more wishes. And he wanted to wish for peace on earth. Oh. And they were arguing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth about what to wish for, and they couldn't figure it out. So he said, all right, look. Here's it. We can't figure this out. So I'm going to go down to the lake with a fish bowl. I'm going to get that magic fish. I'm going to bring him back here, and we're going to make our wish together. And she's, all right. And so he got a fish bowl and headed down to the lake. When he got there, he yelled out, magic fish! Magic fish popped up. He said, yes, what can I do for you? He said, well, we don't know what our 3rd wish is going to be, so I'm going to take you home, and we're going to figure it out. He said, all right, fine by me. So he filled the fish bowl up with water and put the fish in, and he brought it home. And he put it on the table. He said, all right, now we're going to make our wish. And it wasn't long before they started arguing again, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. They kept on arguing. Even the fish guy, and the fish said, hey, want yours for fish food, want yours for a fish tank, want yours for a girl fish. And they were going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And he got so angry, he said, oh, magic fish, I wish I never met you before. And all of a sudden, everything disappeared. The house disappeared. The money disappeared. And the magic fish disappeared. He wished he never met the magic fish before, and it was so. And the next morning, they woke back up back in the little house, little tables, little chairs, little beds, and the mush. But for the first time in a long time, they were something that they weren't before. They were happy. Because they realized they had the one thing in the world that mattered most of all. They had each other. They didn't need stuff. They didn't need things. As long as they were together, they were happy. And they realized that. And because of that, they both lived happily ever after. And that is the end. Now, I want to thank you all for listening to my stories today. I hope you had a good time. I was Big Joe the Storyteller. Thank you very much for joining me, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.